Councillor Hallahan, all in favor? Disclosure of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. Moving to the consent agenda. Any discussion? Councillor Syke?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the Donna's report on FAR point. What the heck is it now?
2, 3, or 4?
It's the one on 4.2.4. And not that the way it was presented. The question I would have is, I like the format and all that. The part about the expense and revenue explanation, when it says exceeds target or lower than target, it really doesn't give me any sense of why based on budget. And if it's like a one-time thing or some stuff like that, that might be beneficial for us to understand from a budget perspective going forward. I find that it's the ones that I'm looking at are the ones that say exceed target or lower than target. The ones that say on target, I'm not really paying much attention to. But again, the stuff that says exceeds target, and if we're already exceeding it, we've got 3 months left to go. The question is what did we not budget? So I think those kinds of things would be beneficial for us, or at least for me as council. I'm not going to speak for the rest of council, but for when I'm looking at the current budget coming into this process in 17. So sure. That's my comment there.
Yeah.
Donna?
Yes. And so that's a good point, and I apologize, in your e-scribe you can't read that report, so it didn't come through on e-scribe, so I put a hard copy there. So once you've had a chance to look through that. So most of the time, Trevor, what's happened in those, if you look at all the way across, so a lot of those you'll see if the revenue exceeds target or if the expenses exceeds targets, most of the times the revenue does as well on a lot of those cases. So last time I had used some notes, something to the effect, or I have them in here a few times, that both revenue and expenses exceed target by the same. So I think I'll put a few more descriptions in like that based on your comments, and I'll squish a little bit more explanation in there for you. So that's a good point, so thank you.
Donna, but the one thing, and that some of the projects may not be proceeding as fast. Right. If you know that would be a simple comment. Project not moving forward as fast.
Right, and that's what I put in there, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Anything else out of consent agenda?
Oh, you can't.
Councillor Syke moves, Councillor Ritzman-Dominguez seconds. All in favor? Carried. Okay. 5 meetings or hearings, none. So we move. Okay. Clerk's department, just 6.11. 6.11. Councillor Syke.
I'll move for discussion.
And Deputy Campbell seconds. Go ahead.
So just so I'm clear as the what the request is that Jeff Dixon of Burnside will be requested to provide a report on what our options are going forward with this particular drain. And in that case, will that report indicate what potential assessment is determined based on these properties, based on what the costs to date are, or is that something after that report? I guess I'm just wondering about process and how far this goes out.
My interpretation is that The ones that were on the original petition, it will be assessed between them, and that will be the way it will be assessed. And to the properties, not to a particular name.
Right, but I guess my question is that report, will that report have it indicated what the assessment is, like what that calculation would be at that time? Okay. My other question is that how does that impact the other, like, I guess obviously there's a significant petitioner who's really requesting this drain. Is there another, is that going to provide him some options as well as to what his, under the Drainage Act, his opportunities are, or not opportunities based on what the report dictates?
Basically, he will be talking to Jeff or whoever from Burnside is looking after that file. And that I think that's the options, that we look after the general parameters of how it works and follow it through according to the rules of the Drainage Act. Is that right, Kurt?
Yeah, I don't know a lot on the
Sure.
hopper drain.
Mm-hmm. So the section 40 report, and I'll just read to you from section 40. It says, where the engineer finds that a drainage works is not required or is impractical or cannot be constructed under this act, the engineer shall forthwith file with the clerk of the initiating municipality a report to that effect, stating the reasons therefore, the amount of the engineer's fees and other charges, and whom they shall be paid. And the clerk shall forthwith send a notice of the filing of such report to all persons who sign the petition, and the matter shall not be further proceeded with unless the decision of the engineer is reversed on appeal. So Jeff did indicate in a meeting between Kathy himself and me that he can determine when he is doing that section 40 report who would be assessed the costs. And it may not necessarily be restricted to the 3 petitioners who signed the original petition. So he could assess costs to others, perhaps individuals who petitioned against the drain or who brought forward some correspondence against the drain. So at this point, we don't know how he's going to assess those costs, but he did indicate that that is a possibility.
So in saying that, obviously by him as choosing that, however he's going to assess, there obviously some background of how he determined that assessment, correct? Like it's not an arbitrary assessment. Like he can't, it's not based on feeling or emotion or what. There obviously has got to be some type of background for the actual landowners to somehow justify an assessment. Is that correct?
Yes, he would have to justify that within the report.
Okay.
James?
We will have a chance to see this report before it's finalized, right?
Yes, he will be filing that with the clerk and it will be brought forward
From
to
the council.
So at that point, if we don't like how he has done it, can we object to that and send it back or not?
It says that the matter shall not be further proceeded with unless the decision of the engineer is reversed on an appeal.
So we would have to appeal.
Okay.
But his report will outlay all the options for council.
Yes.
Okay, so that could be one of the options too then, that he might lay out to us. We have no idea what he's going to lay out. Okay.
But it will still be council's decision how to proceed.
Okay. Ready for the vote? All in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.2.1 for the regions. You are moving. Councillor Syke, Councillor Hallahan, seconds. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Wait, 6.4.1 or 6.4.1, Public Works, Shared Services. Sharon?
So the director is not present tonight, but this report is further to the report that council received in the closed session and is adopting the revised organizational chart and authorizing those positions to be filled for Public Works.
Make that a motion.
Okay. And Councillor Ritzman-Dominguez seconding.
Just one.
Discussion, go ahead.
Is this same report going through Morris Trimbury then tomorrow night?
I don't know if it's on their slate for tomorrow night, but
Actually, it was 15th, not,
So they've already,
they have had their second
okay,
meeting.
okay.
I can't tell you whether it went through the meeting or not.
Okay, that's fine.
But we feel that this is a direction that cannot be authorized within closed session. Council is not permitted to pass these motions within the closed session, so we need to ratify them in open session.
Okay. Councillor Hallahan.
Sharon, even just what is an environmental services coordinator? What does that just consist of briefly?
So the environmental services coordinator will be working on asset management pieces for the water and wastewater, and the drainage superintendent component has been incorporated into that position. So it was formerly in the manager of operations position, which became vacant. And so at this point in time, we are contracting that externally to Dietrich Engineering. And so we're looking at bringing that back internally since Morris Trimbury has a significant amount of drainage work, and we're attaching it to this position. So it will be a field position, but also will have an administrative component to it, looking at after a lot of the asset management and oversight of some capital projects as well.
Thank you.
Deputy Reeve Campbell.
Have we advertised this already then or not?
Not at this point. So the this is authorizing that the position descriptions be developed, and the internal and external postings would be posted.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, 6.5.1, automatic aid agreement.
Make a motion.
Deputy Reeve Campbell, Councillor Vodden. Is anybody need any discussion on it, or all in favor? Carried. Do you have anything for CAO?
No, mine was in the consent
Yep.
this time.
Okay, moving to 7.1 in correspondence, Township of Georgian Bay. Councillor Vodden.
In view of the fact that we're looking into ways to help the rural community, I consider this accommodation review process to be very much against the rural communities across the province. We've suffered from it greatly in our case, and for that reason, I would like to move that we support this from Georgian Bay.
Councillor Syke.
I think from a standpoint of the public as well as municipalities, I think it's important for us to understand the process and understand how they come about making these accommodation reviews. They tend to be they seem to be more at this point in our day-to-day yearly life than they have been in the past, and they're a contentious issue. They're a contentious issue in every town, in every municipality. But I think it's important that people understand the process and understand the information that goes into it. I suspect there's not a lot of information that is presented to people that is how it's determined. And again, I think that's some of the hard feedback, is that people don't understand how the process is determined, so therefore they get on the negative side. And these are difficult questions and difficult things that business decisions that people have to make. And I think they're making them in the instance of real life decisions, but I think people just don't understand the process. And I think this review might help that. And it might help us as municipal people that are asked to fight the good fight for the ratepayers in the municipality, that we know what that process entails and how it's determined.
I try to avoid this, but information that I heard over the weekend and basically on this type of thing, and that at the OFA convention, there was 2 resolutions on this subject. But in dealing with Grey Bruce, there's a Watson report that deals with information 5 years old. And that one of my friends that's a counselor in Brockton went to the hospitals and checked out the birth records for the last 5 years and found a 45% increase. So he is asking that more recent information be taken into context when some of these decisions are being made. That's just one thing that I think in general, they have to find a way of giving a positive way of swaying the decision rather than just being negative. And I think in, I'll say, the Grey Bruce situation, I believe there is some of those. Brock?
Speaking to the need for better information, our experience with the Avon-Maitland board in our struggle was that the problem was not the lack of information, it was the lack of truthful information from the board. And the ministry cooperated on that. They ignored the truth and they continued to. So the thing is that although the excuse was low enrollment for engaging in this process, in actual fact, in our case, the first decision made by the board, the first major decision made was to build another 23, 24 room school, which is hardly a way of dealing with a low population. And all the way through this, there were false information given out by the chair of the board, board members, and senior staff. And
this is a public meeting. Be careful what you're saying.
I have background for everything I'm saying. And so I think that every community that has this struggle needs to be very, very careful and have very authentic information and not rely on the board, the information they're getting from their board.
Yeah, okay. Is that enough discussion? We have a mover. Is there a seconder? Councillor Syed. All in favor? We'll do that again. Carried. Okay. Reeves activity report. That last Tuesday, I traveled down to Dark Horse Winery for an economic development session. Basically bringing mostly probably heads of council or county council members up to date on what other councils had found they were able to do in economic development, and more or less trying to set a groundwork where throughout the whole county there would be people that would know what the situation was in your neighboring municipalities. I found that a good process. I know that some of them were very sweet stories, and that's things. And basically, I will probably be, on a personal note, I was told that I might get a hip replacement in about 10 months. So that I hope it's a little quicker than that, but there's a number of things. I attended a meeting last night where Huron and Perth County members and delegates to the Ontario Federation of Agriculture discussed a number of points that directly affect municipal councils. That I will bring things forward as they relate to things that the township is involved with. But I think I'll move on. And council members, do you have meetings or anything that you would like to, Councillor Hallahan?
Just a report on the 150th anniversary fish fry Saturday night. It was very successful. I think we fed 100 or 318, I think. So, yeah, they were pretty
No, I don't
happy.
I think there was 318 paid.
Yeah.
We only had 300 pieces of fish.
Yeah, well, we were getting down 4 half pieces left for children's. So we lucked out. Good luck too.
We were very careful selling the last tickets that we did at the door so that we didn't oversell it. But yeah, and there was a lot of people that sometimes don't make it out for some of the other things in the municipality, made a point of being there. Thanks, Ray. Councillor Knott?
I'm just going to apologize because tonight I wanted to present a version of a petition that I'm going to put up for traffic control at 4 and County Road 25. And unfortunately, it took me a lot longer to get back from Lucan today than I thought it would with the snow. However, our Fair Chief Dave Sparling can agree, since we had our last meeting, we've had another accident again at that corner. So it continues to be an issue. So by the end of this week, I will have drafted up and we'll begin to distribute a petition around. And anybody in North Huron, if you want to take it and put it anywhere you think people would be interested in seeing, because it is a North Huron issue, feel free to get a hold of me and I'll send you some.
Trevor?
Just to clarify, are you planning on sending that petition to Huron County? Is that where you're planning on sending that petition?
Well, once that petition is signed, it'll come to this council and then it will go to North to Huron County, because that's who we have to put the pressure on. I've also made an inquiry to find someone who will present it and see if they can push it forward in Central Huron as well.
So being both roads are controlled by the county, that is ultimately where it has to go. Councillor Singh.
Right, so I guess my question is, does it need to come here at all? Like, does it need to come to this municipal council for anything? Because we really don't have any authority to approve it or not. To me, it just should go right to the clerk of the county, in my eye.
Yeah, I think it isn't within our jurisdiction, so you really can't make a decision on it. It is an issue that's come to our table a number of times, and we've sent correspondence to the county and had a response that it's been considered and it didn't meet their criteria for a traffic light. So we did, our Director of Public Works did correspond with them asking if they would review that in light of the brewery development and the Tim Hortons development. So I'm not sure what the response back on that inquiry has been, but really there is no decision that council can make because it's not within your jurisdiction.
The intent of bringing it to this council is to have this council lend its support to it at that time when it gets sent on to Huron County. So that's why I'm going to bring it to this council's attention and then ask for the support of the council. Not that we can make a decision that's correct, we can't, but the support of the council along with the petition will be.
So is that basically sort of a notice of motion at this time?
Well, I think you could bring the petition forward as correspondence and request that council do something with it. So if the petition is petitioning this council to lend its support to the issue at the county level, then that's the action that you can take. You can't specifically make a decision with respect to anything else, right?
My intent really would be to ask that this council provide a letter of support and send that letter of support with the petition to Huron County Council for presentation to them. That will be my request when it comes back.
Councillor Vaughn?
So the petition would be addressed to Huron County.
It'll be addressed to Huron County, not to North Huron. But when I bring it here, it will be more or less to ask North Huron to endorse that petition. And then forward that letter along with the petition to Huron County Council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ritzman-Kavinga?
On Friday, I had the pleasure of being a part of the official kickoff for the Salvation Army's kettle campaign. And this year they have kettles going up in Teeswater, Lucknow, and Blythe as well, I think. And it's just a really good program that we can support. All the money is raised here in the community, and they are looking for more volunteers. If anyone wants to take an hour or two out of their day to sit by that kettle and hand out candy canes, it's a great program that the Salvation Army does, and we do desperately need that support there for people in our communities who can benefit from that this year at Christmas time. So something to consider.
Okay, moving on to bylaws, I guess. Or Trevor?
Yeah, so the 8.3.1, I just wanted to discuss it here, council.
Sorry.
So there's been lots of discussion in the media about small municipal utilities and what the province is looking for with regards to what those utilities are to become, whether they are to merge with larger municipal utilities or stay on their own, or whatever the case may be. There has been lots of discussion from a media standpoint about where certain utilities are looking. And my thought is we haven't really seen or heard anything from our the Westario CEO or our board director to understand where we fit in. What is the strategy from a Westario perspective? And I thought it would be interesting for us as council, the fact that we have some ownership there, to know what their strategy is, if there is one. So I would like, my resolution is that we ask the CEO and the board representative to attend a future meeting to provide an update on information with regards to a strategy or the conversation about amalgamations or whatever the case may be, just a discussion about that. It really has come up from a conversation about Goderich. Goderich has been looking, obviously, and they've had some discussions with, seems that some utilities that are further away than Westario Power. So it's just a conversation, and I don't, it's more for me of information on what the strategy is, and maybe that's a conversation about our investment as well. So I think we just need to understand some of that clarity.
I will say at the annual meeting, thinking it was in June, that was talked over a little bit, and that the word was that they are continuously looking and evaluating other opportunities, and that Westario, having a major player in the market such as Fortis, gives Westario a very big foot up in being able to move forward if there's a good looking opportunity comes up before them. That it is something that they are looking at all the time.
So I just know that they do have, and the reason for this request tonight is because I know they do have a board meeting in December. So the question is, if this is something that council would choose to pass, then we could send a letter to our representative as well as the CEO from the clerk to get that on their agenda for their December meeting to discuss how or when they could make that arrangement. So I just thought it would be, it's an interesting thing, the fact that we have some ownership there. We haven't, as a council, heard a lot from them as to that. We had them here in December last year, talked about everything else, but that wasn't a big thing at that time. So I think this is more interesting than what we talked about last December.
Councillor,
I'll support Councillor Seep's resolution. I think that's a good idea.
the one thing, when they are dealing with any individual body, it will have to be after a deal is made, nothing beforehand, or it could scuttle a deal. There's a certain amount of discussions that could be in camera, so don't expect any in-camera information.
No, again, I'm not expecting them to lay out the full detail. I'm looking for what their strategy is. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for them to tell me we're looking at X, Y, and Z. That's not where my plan is. My plan is tell me what your strategy is and where do we fit in? Where does our investment in Westario Power, where do we fit in that? That's kind of where I'm going with. We do have an ownership, yet a small ownership, but we do have an ownership, and I think we are entitled to some type of knowledge of what some strategy is, even though the fact that we may not get the specific details, I understand that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, moving to Bylaw 106, 2016, being a bylaw to authorize the regal clerk to sign on behalf of council an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario as represented by the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services for the Court Security Prisoner Transportation Program. Be introduced, read a first and second time.
So moved.
Councillor Bodden, Councillor Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. And that bylaw 106, 2016 be read a third and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Ritzman-Tedinga, Councillor Sype, all in favor? Carried. And bylaw number 107, 2016, being a bylaw to appoint to the positions of a chief building official, building inspector, and bylaw enforcement officer and property standards officer of the Township of North Huron, be introduced and read a first and second time. So Councillor Sype, Councillor Knott, all in favor? Carried. That bylaw 107, 2016 be read a third and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Vodden, Deputy Reeve Campbell, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw 108, 2016. Being a bylaw to authorize the regional clerk to sign on behalf of council a petition policy for the Township of North Huron, be introduced, read a first and second time. Councillor Sype, Councillor Knott, all in favor? Carried. And that bylaw 108, 2016 be read a third and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Ritzman-Tedinga, Councillor Knott, all in favor? Carried. Announcements?
I actually have one tonight.
Good.
So we received notification in the mail that we have an employee who has been awarded the Certified Municipal Manager 3 designation by the Ontario Municipal Management Institute, and that is Donna White. So we have some pins here for you, and I'm not going to take Neil's example of the fire presentations and have to pin them on you because I don't want to stick you. So congratulations.
That's good, and I'd say on behalf of each and every one of the council, thank you for your efforts and good work. Okay, other business? Are we ready for closed session?
We are.
Councillor Sype, moves. Councillor Hallahan, seconds. All in favor? Carried.